There we go. Sorry. Oh dear.
Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Thermomix Workshop, Getting into Shape. And we will be talking about how to make easy and light summer meals. I'm Jenny Falter. I'm one of the local team leaders here in the Bayside, Melbourne area, and I'm completely dressed for the occasion, right? So doing a little bit of, I do everything I can to get into shape together with you. And today, so I'm not here alone, as you probably have heard already. So today with me is Elizabeth, and she is helping us with the spotlighting. And we have Chef Chris also monitoring the chat for you. So if you do have any questions, feel free to pop the question or your comments into the chat box. That will be monitored from there. And also we will provide the links to all our recipes in the chat box there for you as well. And together with me on stage today, we have Monsi and Chris, another Chris, just to confuse you a little bit. All right, so no matter how you're planning to get into shape, whether that is you want to count calories or look into calorie countings, that should help you with that. If you want to go low carb, which is obviously quite popular at the moment, or if it's just simply wanting to eat well, better, Cookie Dough is there for you to help. We have plenty of recipes on our platform there, and they can help you finding recipes. So one of our latest books is the low carb meals made easy. They can also actually be adjusted to become keto if that's what you're after. Another great book for easy and healthy recipes is our Eat Well collection. There's also lots of vegetarian and vegan options in there. And if you have a sweet tooth, then I definitely recommend the Sweet Nourish collection. So all of the books that I just showed you are available on Cookie Dough with all the recipes in there. But apparently, so I've heard, exercise is also rather important when it comes to getting into shape. In saying that, the food intake has a value of 80% in that equation. So if you want to become 100% successful, I know where I have to adjust, make the adjustments there. But not so much for the exercise, but it's only 20% as per that calculation. So let's focus on the food, because that's what we're here for, and that's where we are best at. Okay, so I think I'm the one starting first. I will show you today the Tex-Mex Chicken soup. That is from the new low carb collection, and I have made it now a couple of times, and this is the latest family favorite in the Falter household. So I really wanted to share that recipe with you. First of all, although it's a soup, it is very light. It's really very refreshing and super easy and fast to make. So this is going to take only 20 minutes, and you have a complete meal from scratch on the table, which has I think it's about 400 calories per portion as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. And I think we can stay on this camera if we like for now. Oh no, let's move over to my close-up. Elizabeth, please. Yeah, there we go. Can you see my waist? All the props here. All right, so this is our Thermomix screen, as you know, and I have popped my recipes into my weekly meal planner straight from Cookie Dough, and these are the ones that we're going to show you today. So here's my Tex-Mex recipe, and as always, you know, so here we get information. We have a newer version available. When you find a recipe, you can start scrolling and have a look. So here it's considered as difficulty being easy, Prep time just for 5 minutes. Total time 40 minutes, and the serving size is 4 portions. As always, we have a list of ingredients right here. We do have the preparation steps there. And because we want to, know a little bit more about what we're eating, here's also a nutrition panel always on the bottom of a recipe. So, now to get you started, it's actually also, I love this recipe, it also uses the Aroma. So it's something I've prepared earlier, as we know. So we probably need to switch cameras again. Elizabeth, thank you. So I can show you what I've done here. So in the recipe step, it says place the Aroma on top, and then we are adding 500 grams of chicken thigh. And no chicken thigh in this household here. I prefer breasts, and you could also use tenderloins or whatever cut you prefer. And you just weighed it in there. So it didn't specifically say put it into the Aroma Tray, but that's what I prefer. And you can see I have used this inlay for my Aroma Tray. And I want to quickly show you these Aroma Sheets. They are available in the mix shop, and there's 2 versions available. The ones with the holes, that's the one I'm using today, and the ones without the holes. And the benefit here is without the holes, you can steam an omelette in there, so right on the tray, without obviously the egg going through the little vents on the side. This one here has the holes, so this means it releases more steam. But what I really like about these Aroma Sheets is that it's so much easier to clean afterwards, especially when you steam your proteins there on the top. They sometimes they'd like to drop through, and then also they'd like to stick in the little vents in there. So that makes it much more easier to clean. All right. So moving on, in the recipe step, it says then add a tablespoon of the seasoning mix. So that's a seasoning mix I have made earlier. There's a taco seasoning mix recipe. It's available. You need to find it in the hints and tips and tricks of the recipe. So I've called mine just simply Mexican spice mix. And you know what? I've quadrupled the recipe because we absolutely love Mexican food. So we use that quite a lot. And that's something, just so you know, you can do that. I store that in just a jar. All right, so now I've mixed that and marinated that, and now we should set that aside for now. So now we can go back to the Thermomix screen. Elizabeth, please. Thank you. And so I just took off the lid. That's why my scales went into minus. Just be always mindful when you do some weighing that you always have a look at your scales. That very often happens, and then your result can become, well, not quite so successful. All right, so we're going to weigh in, so it's 80 grams of onion. How cool is that? You just need to peel the onion and cut it in half. So normal chopping, 79. There we go. This is how precise my scales are. Next is there's 1 clove of garlic. Well, you know me, there's 1 is nothing, and also they're really little, so definitely 2 for my taste. And 1 to 2 jalapeno chili. I don't know if I've said that correctly, so Monty will correct me on that. Because we don't like it, well, not everyone in this family likes it too hot. I've just used a normal chili. I deseeded it, and there's always then the chance afterwards to increase the heat by adding just simply more chili powder. Okay, so now my oil. So I'm going to weigh that in. And whoops. There we go. Now I want to be very precise today. Okay, 21. That'll do. And next step, we are popping the lid on top, inserting the measuring cup. And now we're going to saute the onions on 120, we're chopping them first up before we're sauteing them. So it's just 3 seconds. See, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go, scraping down. This is the spatula, also available in the mix shop, comes in 3 different colors. I really love this one because it does have a very long neck, and this way I can go inside the bowl and, well, I don't have to touch the food with my fingers, incidentally. You know by now that I don't like touching food. Not that I'm cooking. And, all right, but now we're doing the sauteing. I knew it was coming. Here we go. So that's just the beauty, is just I don't have to know what I'm doing. 3 minutes, automatically set to 120 degrees. TM31 honest. If you do search that recipe on Cookie Doodle, it will have instructions on how to, what temperature to use in this recipe. In this case, that would be your aroma temperature. All right, so whilst this is sauteing, we're heading over to Monsi's kitchen.
Hello, welcome back to my kitchen museum of Thermomix. I'm going to do today a dairy and grain-free wraps. The beauty of these wraps is that apart of being really light, they are gluten-free. And I have to say, I'm loving them. So yeah, just going to start doing it. Anyway, I have here the recipe. Okay. 1 garlic clove, like Johnny. I love garlic. And I have a little trick here. My mum showed me that if you get the aftertaste of the garlic, I always cut it in half and remove the middle bit, because apparently this is quite difficult to digest for some people, so I always remove it. So yeah, there it goes. 1.5 garlic for us. Saying that, I will put also, if you want, you can put also in this recipe herbs like parsley or oregano, things like that. Okay, we're going to chop for 3 seconds. And then it's a fat of throwing everything in the Thermomix. So the base of it is coconut flour, by mine from Costco. I didn't even put the scales. It was pre-weighed. So anyway, Silesian husk, 20 grams. How much there? That should have put, baking powder and salt. With the baking powder, if you are trying to do something gluten-free, you have anybody who is celiac, I will highly recommend it to check on your baking powder that is gluten-free, because apparently there are some baking powders that they have some trace of gluten. Okay, just cracking my eggs because I know that it's coming next. On my baking powder, I put also the salt. So it's already there. And now it's going to ask for the 2 eggs. I always crack them separately because in case you had a bad egg, you don't want to throw it already there, and I will spoil, what I put already in my Thermomix. I always crack them separately. Normally, I use my measuring cups to crack them there, but as I've been using already these balls, I use them instead. Anyway, warm water. I'll put it here actually, because I thought I will need to warm it. 300 grams. That's it. Pretty easy recipe. There you go. And olive oil. So that's all. As I said, here you can put anything else, whatever you wanted to flavor your wraps. So I will go for herbs as well. That will be really nice. Okay, so first we're going to mix it all for 10 seconds. And after that, And after that, we are gonna knead it for a minute. So let's see, that's what you get. So I'm just going to scrape it a bit, put it all down. And we're gonna knead it for a minute.
At the moment, it's rather wet looking paste, right?
It is very wet. Yeah.
But
And I'm also saying that after the kneading, we have to let it rest for 5 minutes inside our Thermomix. I would say, you know, as minimum a minute, 5 minutes, but I will happily leave it for longer than that. I don't think that is going to be a problem.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we have
now we need it for a minute.
Yeah, it's great. Coming back to me. Oh yeah, perfect. So so because we have here we go. So that's better. So because there's 2 ingredients in the wraps recipe. That one is the coconut flour and the psyllium husk. So the coconut flour absorbs a lot of liquid. So don't be afraid if your wrap dough looks like a paste at this stage, where after the kneading and the resting, you will like to see that will all be absorbed and it will look like a real dough. Don't be tempted to try any other flours instead. So don't try that instead of coconut flour to do that with almond meal. That will not work because it doesn't absorb as much liquid as the coconut flour does. All right, so back to my Thermomix screen now. Elizabeth, I keep you busy today, don't I? Well, we're here to exercise. There we go. All right, so I took the lid off already. Again, tearing that back to 0. And now it's asked for 150 grams of green capsicum. I like to add a little bit more color. That's why I've used also the amount half it also with yellow one. So when you're looking for carbs, when you're going low carb, the green capsicum is really safe. So it's really like a traffic light system with the capsicums. That has the lowest amount of carbs in it. Yellow already has a little bit more, and red is basically a no-no. So that's where the fruit or the vegetable tells you. But really just to make it look a little bit prettier, and it's absolutely fine. It's not the calories you are increasing here when you change the colors, but it gives me a feeling, the yellow capsicum, I think it looks like corn in it. But obviously in low carb, corn is a big no-no. So now we added just one can of chopped tomatoes. This is my favorite brand. I buy the organic ones from Aldi, in case you're interested. And there we go. And a teaspoon of chicken stock paste. So you all know that we all rave constantly about the vegetable stock paste, and very often there are recipes out there that ask for chicken stock paste. So this is how that looks like, pretty much exactly the same like veggie stock paste. So you can use also vegetable stock paste in this recipe if you don't have the chicken stock paste. But if you've never made the chicken stock paste, I really want to encourage you to do so. It's amazing. It's just another level of flavor that you're adding to your dishes, and it lasts the same time like the normal veggie stock paste. So also because we're adding a lot of salt in there, the salt is the preservative in this case, and it will last also a couple of months in the fridge, just as it is. So now 600 grams, 650 of water. Do we have any questions in the chat? Or are we having a very quiet audience today? Right. And now we added the water, and now comes another round of the taco seasoning, or like I call it, my Mexican spice mix. And so it says half a tablespoon, so I just use a hit teaspoon. of that. And again, this is to taste, right? So completely how you want it. And now comes the aroma again in play. So before you're popping, so have a look at the picture. So you can see we need actually the lid on top first. So that's basically a given. And instead of the measuring cup, we just pop the aroma on top and put the lid on top. And going next. And now this is 20 minutes. Just turning the dial, you can see it goes on speed 1 and reverse. So it's not chopping up the vegetables that are in there. They're just gently being turned around in circles. And yeah, so 20 minutes where I don't have to stand in my kitchen and I can do some exercise. 20%, okay? Eating 80%, very important. Look, let's go back to Monsi's kitchen and see how the dough has shaped until now.
Let's see. Well, it's still going. I have a minute or so, but I've been very well prepared, and I have another batch. So we're gonna get 8 wraps, and I have to say this recipe is absolutely delicious. So I normally double the batch. So I've done another batch before. So this is what we're gonna get. And yeah, so it is quite wet. I'm gonna show you how wet it is. But
yeah, but not a paste anymore. So it's really workable.
No.
I made this last night and I was able to pop it out of my bowl like we normally do with the bread dough, turning the bowl upside down and twisting the base of the bowl.
Oh yeah, you can do that. It's true. I should have done that. You know, the trick of this one. Anyway. So what I done with this other batch was to make like a log, and then I start cutting my little shapes. They say normally to do 8 pieces, 65 grams each. If you want to be very precise, you can weigh it. And before I took the time to do that, but it's quite, quite easy. More or less, you do a log like that, and I go up, and then I do 4 in each side. And more or less, you're going to get the 65 grams. So this is because it hasn't been now had an alarm. Sorry. Oh. Now it's been so because I didn't let it rest, I'm going to use the one that it was rested. Okay. So I'm going to show you how am I going to do it without a roti pan. So now what we need to do is flatten this down, and I'm going to use just the board, and then to fry it I'm going to use one of those press pans. You can use a heavy pan as well over the stove, but that one has to be dry. Both of them, they has to be dry. We don't put any oil on our pans. So to flatten it out, to make the shape of my wraps, I put it between some baking paper. Okay, and then I flat it with my board. A little bit more of the exercise.
I like it. You're exercising. I need to, what is it called? I need to heat up the pan, yeah.
Pan. So that was a mistake. Anyway, so I flat it down. Now it's a fat, or just fill it off. Okay, so it's quite sticky still. Fill it off, and put it down. And the press of this sandwich, we made it even flatter. So I'm going to show you. Unfortunately, it wasn't hot enough, but I can carry on making another one, and then you can see it. On the pan, I would say use a very hot pan as well. And if you have a roti maker, even better. I don't own one, so that's why I wanted to show you this trick with the board, and as well as doing some exercises of pressing. Yeah,
I love it that it comes out, it comes round, so it keeps the shape of the ball that you have formed.
Yep.
Instead of, well, guessing the continent. When I try to roll my dough out, then it always, you know, it looks like Germany. Or Spain. All right.
And then to keep it warm, there are two ways to keep it warm. You can keep it warm in the thermosaver or on a plate with a tea towel, obviously a clean tea towel. You put your wraps here and then cover it. The other thing is that you can make them in advance and freeze them. So you can put them in between this baking paper in the freezer, and it will last for weeks in the freezer. Or you can do the same to store it in the fridge. So beforehand, you can prepare them all and keep them between the baking paper, and it will be perfectly fine in the fridge.
Monsi, I have a question. I have a
Yes.
question. If you freeze them, do you just take them out half an hour before and do you reheat them? And if so, how do you reheat them?
Well, if they are uncooked, I would say defrost them and then you cook them. If they are already cooked, I suppose you can put them in a, unfortunately my press wasn't warm enough. You still need to have a few minutes to go.
We're gonna have
yes, I will put it back into a pan to heat it up.
Thank you.
It is already cooked.
Yeah. Okay, so whilst your fry pan or your sandwich maker is heating up a little bit more, we are going to Chris's kitchen. That's all right. We come back to you and have a look at the results once they're done. So we're heading over to Chris, and let's see if she also wears her exercise outfit. Here we go.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
No, I don't have my exercise outfit, but I've got my exercise hair.
I love it.
Maybe from about 30 years ago.
So what are you going to show us today?
Today I'm making the beetroot salad. And now I noticed on the participant list, there's a couple of people there that have had their Thermomix for a little while. So they might be quite familiar with this beetroot salad recipe. But I wanted to show it today because I thought the new owners that we have on board might not know about it. And coming into summer and barbecues and everything like that, it's an amazing dish. It's an amazing dish because it is so quick. We're going to a large gathering, you could double the recipe. I'm going to pop it on a platter with some spinach leaves. You could do rocket leaves. You could add it on to, salad leaves, and then you could top it with anything you like. You could, put some carrots, some feta, anything you like. I'm just going to mix it today with a little bit of hummus and have it for my lunch, which is what I used to do a lot. Back in the day when I still ate a little bit of animal protein, I used to sometimes put a can of tuna in it, and that would make a really nice healthy lunch. So for those of you that like fish, you can do that. Otherwise, on its own, it's just a vegetable salad. It's amazing. So it's on your cookie dough, and it's also probably in your cookbook. So beetroot salad's got a couple variations. Danny Vallant has also got a beautiful one, and she uses pomegranate molasses and pomegranates. So I'm pretty sure all her books are on cookie dough. Otherwise, just text your consultant, and she can probably help you with the link. Is that right, Danny? Are all her Jenny? Are all her books on cooking?
No, unfortunately not. It's only the Entertaining with Danny Valent is on Cookie. All the others she has the rights on, so you can check out her website, and that's probably also where we can find it. Yeah, so keep going. I was just thinking, just what you said with the tuna and the variations that you can make it. That would also be a great wrap filling for the wrap set once it's just made. So you put in the whole apple?
Well, actually, I was just cutting it. But what I was also going to say, because of the way the Thermomix cuts and the blades are so effectively, when it's cutting the carrot and the beetroot, it's not actually bruising the vegetable or the apple. So it does last in your fridge for quite a while, which is fantastic. There's quite a few raw salads. Another one of my favourite is the celeriac salad. And that was in the first cookbook that I got with my Thermomix, nearly 12 years ago. Well, probably is 12 years ago now. And that's a great recipe as well. But I think celeriac's a winter vegetable. Anyway, so I've gone and found the beetroot salad. So now I'm going to start cooking. So it wants 400 grams of beetroot. So I've just, as you know, the rule of the law is that if it fits through your opening in the top, is really as small as you need to prep it. Okay. Oh, actually, sorry, I didn't tar it. Famous mistake. Let's start again. I thought that was a lot. Okay, so as you can see, my pieces are quite chunky, because the whole idea about the Thermomix is saving time. So if you're going to chuck it, your beetroot into the Thermomix and chop it, don't prep it in little cubes as some people do, thinking they need to. Okay. And as you know, a little bit more or a little less is fine. So I've got beetroot. That one's the carrots. And so a little bit of red onion. And so look, I've gone to some people's home where they just hate the onion and they don't want it. Other people want more. So again, that's personal choice. And it always says a green apple. I never buy green apples, so I just pop in a red. So I've quartered it, but I've left the core in. Once you chop it, you might get a pit, but you'll never know it's there. So, there is nutritional content in your core, so you might as well leave it there. And that's the same if I'm making an applesauce or apple pancakes. If I'm using the Thermomix to chop an apple, I'll never peel it and I'll never core it, okay?
By the way, this is the same for pumpkin. Pumpkin or pumpkin soup. Sorry? When you make pumpkin soup, you can leave the skin on, and you can even leave the seeds in there, because they're going to be pureed up, and it just adds more nutrients to your food. Less waste.
Yeah. So it's asked for coriander. I'm going to do mint. Okay, so I've popped in some mint leaves instead. All right, then it's asking for some salad dressings, but because I'm going to mix some hummus through it afterwards, I'm just going to skip through the olive oil, the lemon juice. I will add a bit of salt though, because I like my salt. Okay, and now as for the hard part. Insert measuring cup, and it wants me to go speed selector, speed 5 for 2 seconds. Okay, let's go. Yeah. So I'll probably go about 4.5, I think. And next, wants me to scrape it down, which is, it's actually a new addition. I wouldn't bother about that. I would probably just go, initially just start with 5 seconds. You don't need to scrape it down, and go, speed 5. It's one of those recipes that you're better off just listening out for, because it always depends on, how fine you've chopped it or whatever, and you can pretty much tell when it's done. So I'll pop it on my platter because you want to see a couple of lines.
Yeah, a bit better there, yeah. So yeah, I think once it has been called also the 5-second salad, because of that, just chopping it 5 seconds on speed 5, but I know Danny Valland also says that the 4.5 is actually the best speed for chopping up your vegetables. Something magic happening with 4.5. And I've just popped a link into the chat box for another great light and easy summer salad that's called the Traffic Light Salad. And it's from the UK platform and pretty much the same. And they are using the 4.5 speed. So it must be good.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So there you go. How gorgeous is that?
Wow.
I mean, you might, I don't know if you can tell, you might want to chop it up a little bit finer than that. I like to, I like it a little bit chunkier.
Yeah.
So, and that's it. Beautiful.
Fantastic. Please take a photo from this beautiful salad.
Yes, I will.
Love the look of that.
Before we cut away from Chris, I'm guessing that she's made the hummus herself in the Thermomix. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, of course. I get quite cross when I go to friends' homes that have Thermomixes and they've been lazy and sometimes don't make a dip. Hummus is the staple in our house and I make it regularly. I've also got a couple of gluten-free breads here, which I started making yesterday, and then my electricity cut out all day. So I popped it in the fridge and baked them this morning, and they've worked out all right. They're a little bit dense than they should be, but it's still a nice loaf. So yeah, the hummus is one of my favourite dips. And sometimes too, what I'll do is pop a bit of beetroot in it. So especially for Christmas, and then it gives it that sort of reddish colour, a bit more festive.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
no worries.
So we're coming back to my kitchen, although there's 3.5 more minutes steaming time available or left. So I thought I'm going to have a chat with you about eating, and so it's important that we look into what we're eating. But I quickly want to share with you what I did the other day, and that was I participated in a mindfulness eating challenge, and it's a friend of mine. Her name's Hazel. She's in Bayside as well. So if you want to hear more about that, happy for you to get in touch with me, and I can get you in touch with Hazel. So we did a 5-day mindfulness challenge, and it was not about what we're eating; it was the right how we're eating. And that also has an impact on, how we feel afterwards. So if we all have been there, you start eating a bag of chips and it feels like 5 minutes later it's gone, it's empty, and afterwards you feel really bad about it. So a couple of things that she stressed, or not stressed, that's completely wrong, that she has pointed out about when you eat more mindful. So just think about the habit that you're eating. And I'm completely guilty of that. So are we sitting down at the table? Are we just eating, or are we distracted? So especially with the lunches that we're doing, are we eating at our desk and have some sort of distraction? So it really seems like we have unlearned how to just eat. So I'm completely guilty of that. I always have my phone with me. I scroll through my socials whilst I'm eating. Sometimes there's the TV going, there's the radio going, or I listen to an audiobook or something, right? It's not just eating. So being very mindful when you're eating, that you focus just on the eating. Also the speed of the eating. So very often we just shovel things just in, really, because it needs to be quick, and we eat too fast. We don't chew enough. I don't. I know I'm very fast when it comes to eating. Take a moment in time, enjoy the food. Notice what it does to you when you eat it. Does it spark joy? Slow down, put the cutlery aside and empty your mouth before you put in the next one. So things like that, they all have an impact when it comes to what does the food to your body. when you're eating. So, and I think after I've done this challenge with her, I found myself guilty in so many things, and I just to be aware of that really helps. Another factor, and I'm not a nutritionist whatsoever, but another factor, and I know you've heard that from many other sources before, is the drinking, right? So obviously we're not drinking enough, and we should consume about 3 liters of water a day. And 3 liters is really quite a challenge to do that. And I just quickly want to share with you that I found an app that actually helps me tracking my drinking habit. So I have, I think it's called Water Tracker. So just you can Google it, just go into your app store. There's plenty of different apps available, but that's just something that I found very helpful to keep track of my drinking as well. Okay, so now I get called from my trusted Thermomix, and we can go over to the other camera. Basically, what we're doing now is just we're removing the aroma, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So open the lid away from me, and here we have, here we have the steamed chicken right there, and pop that a little bit over here, and setting that aside. I need to use my, you know what? Did you see that? So it doesn't react, and it is because my screen is wet. So sometimes when you feel, oh, what's going on? Why is this not doing what I want? It already thought I was touching it where the drippings were on. So now I can take my soup is ready. All right, this is how it looks like. So see what I mean with the yellow capsicum? It looks like corn, so it makes it even look a little bit more more Mexican. Yes, thank you very much. So it says divide this soup between the bowl. So basically use a different bowl. I do that in a moment, but just for the demonstration purposes. And now I'm popping back the chicken into the bowl, and you're going to shred the chicken. So the seasoned and steamed chicken goes back into the bowl. I probably need to put my weights away. Here we go. Let's be honest, I haven't done any exercise while cooking. Well, I could. I prefer doing the chatting with you. Okay, so I just popped the chicken back into the bowl. And there we go. Last bit. All right, and pop the lid back on. And now we're shredding 4 seconds on speed 4 on reverse. So we just want to take the chicken apart. We don't want to cut it up. That's why we are going on reverse. And it just says speed selected to speed 4. Alright. Go. Yeah, coming. So here is our beautifully shredded chicken, and that will go into the soup so it doesn't look so watery anymore. And I'm going to plate that up. So I think we need to go back to my other screen, Elizabeth, if you wouldn't mind. Here we go. So I bring you a little bit closer to here. Ta-da. Right. Where's my soup gone? Over here. So you could just add, if you like, you can add the whole chicken into the soup, or just serve that like this. So we have now, we've got the 3 colors. So we do have the red from the tomatoes, we do have the green and the yellow from the capsicum, and now we're adding the chicken there on top. Here we go. And decorating, well, one could say coriander. But yeah, no coriander, and you don't have to use coriander if you don't like it. You're a little bit like me. Here we go. Oops, where's my? Yeah, Chris. I know, Chef loves coriander, but I don't. So doesn't that look pretty? And so if you mix the chicken into the soup, then the consistency becomes a little bit more. Less soupy, if that's a word. So you could use this also to wrap that into your wraps. And speaking of wraps, I think Monty wants to show us the end result. Is that right?
Yes. I keep going doing wraps because I made 16. So as I said before, I'm doing a double batch, but this is my result. So really fluffy, and I'm keeping them with the wrap. And I've got into my here. One of the things, I put some mushrooms that obviously I made on my Thermomix, some avocados and tomatoes. And it is a delicious wrap. You know, really lunch to eat in a meaningful way. As you mentioned earlier, I wanted to put a pointed about the water. I've been told that we have to drink 1 liter per 20 kilos of our weight. So do your calculations. But yeah, that's quite a lot of water. Anyway, so this is the wrap. You can fill it up with anything. And I carry on doing my other wraps.
Wonderful.
So yeah, any questions about this?
Oh, we haven't really quite
show you the coconut flour that I buy. I have to say, when I do coconut milk with the pulp, then I tend to dry it in the oven, in a low heat oven. And when it's dry, that pulp, I put it back in the Thermomix and mill it, and then I get the flour. I haven't done those wraps with that particular, with those, with that coconut that I get from my coconut milk, but I done biscuits and muffins, and I have to say it came out delicious anyway. So yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks so much, Monsi and Chris. That was fantastic. I just saw we have a question in the chat box, and that was, so Chris was sharing the tips with the chickpeas to use the chickpea water for aquafaba, making vegan meringues from it. And then there was a question, do you also add the sugar to that egg white meringue? So the answer is yes, absolutely we do. And the sugar will then help also with the texture. So actually we haven't quite decided yet, but we have planned to also do a very vegan Christmas cooking class. Let's see if we're going ahead with it or not. But that would be a very great dish to make for a vegan Christmas dinner table. And in case you have any vegan guests coming, or family members or of yours decide to go vegan from one day to another, happens with teenagers in the house. Whether you like it or not, could happen. All right, before we go, I quickly want to show you 2 more things that from the mix shop that I found really helpful when you want to have a look, when you want to be aware of the oils that you're using. So instead of pouring the oil into a fry pan or into a dish or so, this oil mister. I always say it wrong. Anyway, oil mister, that's how it looks like from the mix shop. That can help you. So even with the salads, you can just spray a little bit of oil on top of it instead of pouring. So that's also a great way to reduce the oils and the fats that we're using. So this one, and because we were using the Aroma here today, and I already showed you the sheets, another great way to save you from cleaning is the Aroma Tray that just sits inside the top tray, and it's also great for steaming your vegetables and your proteins, but also you can make an omelette in that one as well. And you could spray it with your oil mister to make it non-sticky. See what I'm doing here? Anyway, and that's one of my favorite accessories, also available. All of that's available in the mix shop. It's a trivet, and that elevates the food away from the little openings there in your aroma, and that just helps with the circulation and more even steaming of your food. And everything that we use here, it's also dishwasher safe. So like I always like to say, the Thermomix is here to make your life easier, not harder. And they also make great Christmas presents in case you are still on the hunt for an accessory or a little Kris Kringle Christmas presents. Have a look on the mix shop. There is plenty available for your hobby cooks and hobby chefs, and I'm pretty sure they all appreciate the tools that we have there, and even the quality that they're just amazing. And as you can see, we use them a lot because we absolutely love them a lot. All right, so this is the end of today's workshop that we thought we help you getting into shape before Christmas, before the whole silly season starts. So whatever you decide to do, just make sure you enjoy the food, slow down and take it all in, all right? No regrets. We want food to be a very enjoyable and pleasant experience. So let's wait for another new recipes that we're coming up with, showing you how to make them in our online workshops. If you do have any more questions, feel free to pop them in the chat box. And if not, I hope I'll see you again next time when we are going to show you how to make platters. So making Christmas platters, whether you do entertaining and you have planned to have a grazing table or something like that, or if you're invited to a Christmas party and it says bring a platter, then our workshop will be on the 28th of November, and reach out to your consultant. They can give you the details and the invite to the next cooking class, and I hope I see you all there. Bye for now.